So never in the history of Western civilization has anything become more expensive more quickly than this 4-year degree. And yet, the pressure we've put on kids to get one, cost be damned, is scandalous. And the result of that push, combined, I think, with our harebrained decision to pull shop class out of high school, has resulted in a widening skills gap, $1.7 trillion of student loans that are currently on the books, an entire generation of kids who's so confused by this thing, it's almost overwhelming.
So I wanted to deviate a little from my standard show format. And today really just focus on something that, this has been driving my work for a very long time. And I'm seeing this on a small level. I'm seeing it on a big level. The construction industry as we know it is dying. And what's happening in the industry, for those who are aware of this, for those who are really entrenched in the construction work, whether it's commercial or residential, everybody's trying to figure out what to do. Like there's like a quiet panic. People are trying to figure out, and when I mean people, I'm talking about employers, project managers, right? Folks who are in charge of making sure that something is built. Everybody's trying to figure out how are we going to survive with the decline that we see in the workforce. I'm gonna say it's the main reason why the industry is dying. So how are we gonna get the homes built that we have forecast to be built in 2 years, in 5 years? How are we gonna get this building completed? And it's gonna take 18 months, it's gonna take 2 years, right? Everybody's trying to figure this out. And how we have gotten to this point is something that I think we really need to be honest about in this country. Number one, work ethic. Somewhere along the genetic lines, work ethic has not been passed down, or the degree of work ethic that's required in construction jobs is not being passed down. We got a whole generation of kids who don't want to work. A whole generation of young adults that don't want to work. Mike Rowe, who a lot of people are familiar with in the construction world, talks about this. The large amounts of men, millions of men who are just not in the workforce in America right now. Why? Because construction work is hard. It's not easy. This is a problem. This is a big problem. And this is a problem that if we don't get ahead of it, I don't know where the housing industry is going to be in 10 years, in 15 years. And I'm not saying I have all the answers. I'm saying we need answers though, as a collective, as a group of people, if we think housing. Now, when we talk about housing, there's a lot of people involved, and that's why answers need to be developed. I mean, who's involved in this process of houses being built and sold? Realtors, contractors, inspectors, appraisers, land developers. I mean, 10, 15 different trades, from roofing to civil engineers. So many people are involved in this process. And I'm like, we need to figure something out, because as the older generation, as they are leaving the workforce in construction, and I forget the statistics, man, don't quote me, but it's like for every 5 folks retiring, there's only one young person that's joining the workforce. That's a big problem, right? Again, who's gonna be building our houses? I mean, how long are we gonna keep recycling old houses? They're falling apart. They've been built 50, 60, 70 years ago. Foundations are crumbling, roofs are crumbling, the wood is old. How long do we expect to keep recycling these old houses? We have to build new houses. We have to build new buildings. That's like, you know, low-hanging fruit. That's standard in any culture, in any society. You're going to continuously be building. The question is, here in America, who is going to do the building? We see this huge shift in immigration policy. All right. So, I mean, you know, some of the old days, or some of the ways that we've been relying on for the past, you know, however many years, 20, 30 years of, you know, immigrants in the workforce, let me say undocumented individuals in the workforce, how long are we going to be able to keep relying on that? We can't rely on that, and we're seeing that now. We're seeing the ripple effects of that now as we are shutting down our borders and getting tight on immigration control, how that's affecting the workforce right now. Because we know we have undocumented workers in so many fields in construction. I mean, they're, you know, construction, I'm gonna say probably the majority of the workforce in construction aren't American children, aren't American young adults. The majority of the workforce, the new workforce that's coming in, all right, over the past, let's say 20 years, not young American adults. So this is something that we just have to figure out. And, you know, the average American looking at this may not see it as a sense of urgency until they go to buy a home, until they start engaging in the process and looking at the availability of inventory, right? Or lack thereof. Like, wow, but then we see all this land out here. I mean, there's no shortage of land in America to build on. Who's gonna build? Who's gonna be the one actually doing the building? If we see that, okay, the workforce is changing rapidly because of, you know, this administration's policy, the current administration's policy, the dynamics of the workforce is changing, then we have to also adapt. We also have to, you know, change. So look, I'm saying it's either undocumented workers, robots, or we got to get young folks back into the trades here in this country.
Is the tech going to make me obsolete? Is AI going to make me irrelevant? Those are fair questions, but the plumber is not in any specific danger of any of these existential threats. And the question isn't just how much can you make today as a plumber? The answer, 6 figures easy. Or how many plumbers could be hired right now? The answer is hundreds of thousands easily. The real question today is, how long do you want to wait for a plumber when you need one?
Yeah.
And we have to ask ourselves that, because right now you're talking 3-4 days, and that's no way to run a great country.
We have to bring honor back to the jobs that build our communities, that build our homes, that build our buildings, right? We need to brand those jobs, brand those positions as honorable positions. I mean, look, they make money, right? Young folks want to make money. Plumbers, licensed HVAC technicians, licensed electricians, the guys who do masonry, guys who even drive forklifts. I mean, you know, I don't think the average young person understands how much a Bobcat operator makes. I don't think the average young person understands how much a licensed welder makes, right? These people make money, a lot of money, right? I'm in construction. I know a lot of money is made on a construction site in all the trades. So young folks want to make money, you know, especially this new generation, bling, bling, flashy stuff. They want to buy this, they want to buy that, no problem. We just need to make a greater connection between the ability of earning a paycheck, not just a paycheck, I'm gonna go beyond that, the ability to make money, to take care of yourself and take care of your family. Whether it's through a paycheck or you are a 1099 worker, you're an independent contractor, right? And connecting that to trade opportunities, right? Connecting those two. Young folks want to make money? Cool. Well, here's a way that you can make money. And this way is, for financial reasons, I'm gonna say probably an easier pathway, a more viable pathway for a lot of young people, because it doesn't require, you know, a bunch of student loan debt. It doesn't require you to, you know, go through a very lengthy program before you can actually apply something. Now, yeah, there are apprenticeship programs and, you know, different educational programs, trade programs that do take a certain amount of time, but a lot of them are work and study programs, right? So after a certain amount of time, you actually are getting in the field as well too, and building up your hours to become a journeyman or whatever the process may be. I'm just saying, for an individual who may not be college prone, or may have had some blemishes in their past, there's so many fields of construction that will take you in quickly if you just have good work ethic, and you can make a lot of money. So we got to talk more about it. I'm gonna be talking more about it on my show. And this is a part of my work. So it's not just a topic now that I'm speaking of. I've been trying to get young people in construction for over 10 years since I've been running my company, and it's something I'm gonna continue to do. So I'm gonna also show you now just some pieces of my work and how we've tried to incorporate construction training in the overall development of my construction company, Core Construction. So take a look and hope you get inspired by it. We have to reimagine school. Schools aren't making a connection. School has to become based around what young folks want to do in their careers. And that's what school needs to be. And so in this case, we talk about construction. School needs to be a space where these young folks can get exposure to the actual industry as well as the principles. I mean, we're going to start with the principles. We're going to do the book work, right? We're going to go through text. We're going to read. We're going to write. We're going to, share and offer our opinions. But, after that, we need to get young folks out on the battlefield. We need to get them in front of tools. We need to get building materials in their hands. We need them to start experiencing the things that you experience when you're actually on the job. So when we talk about like on the job training, this is essentially on the job learning. We want folks to learn while they're on the job. So there's a built-in period, right, in which before there's training, there's learning. So before there's an expectation of that young folks to produce something, right? Like framing a wall, we need them to learn how to frame a wall. And it's best that they learn how to frame the wall on an actual job site versus just being in a classroom learning mathematics. Again, I'm not taking away from the essentials, the principles, that book, but it needs to lead to the actual place where a young person is going to apply that math, and they can see how that lends to their ability to get something done, which ultimately leads to a paycheck. We created the Core Construction Training Program. I've always tried to provide on my job sites opportunities for young folks to be a part. Even if they didn't know what they were doing, just them being there and being able to help with maybe some of the non-skill related things like moving materials, even cleaning up. These little tasks, while they're not skill related, it gave them a position on the job site. It gave them a position in the total picture of what we're trying to do. And that's just the start. If we could only get more young men and women to embrace the grit, embracing a lifestyle, a work lifestyle that involves getting dirty, being uncomfortable, being hot, being cold, that can greatly affect the numbers of folks who are going into the trades. Nobody goes into plumbing or masonry because they want to wear a suit every day, right? These jobs require hard work. These jobs require long hours. These jobs require uncomfortable positions. These jobs require inconvenient situations. That's just a part of the work. And there's an honor in that work because that's the most challenging work that a lot of people run from. And so I think if we put more prestige behind the image of this work being completed, then we'll have young folks who find honor within themselves of being the ones to step up, to take on this work and actually get it done, right? It's almost like a reverse psychology thing. We need to start rewarding those who step up to do the hard work and not rewarding them in a way saying, oh, hey, here's a badge, or here's a token, go ahead. But no, placing them on a high part of the pedestal, right? Like they are, the guy who's fixing your toilet or who's laying the sewer work is just as important as the guy who shows up or woman who shows up in the shirt and tie, and they're there to finance your loan. Like, everyone is important. The grit work is important. Matter of fact, the grit work is necessary, right? No loan gets financed, no house gets sold. Nothing happens unless the asset first is built. So somebody has to go into the dirt. Somebody has to dig the foundation. Somebody has to move the dirt, right? Somebody has to be responsible when it's real hot for the plumbing pipe still to get laid correctly. Even when it's real cold, somebody has to be responsible for being on the roof and making sure the roof is built right. Somebody has to be responsible. These are very important roles in the overall process of buildings being created for home or for commercial. So I think we need a paradigm shift in our culture, and we need to start looking more at hard-working blue-collar jobs as high prestige jobs, right? I mean, you take one job like underwater welding. I mean, I can't even tell you how much they make. And I know it's maybe a little off topic from building homes, but again, it's just an example of some of the hardest jobs to do in life are some of the most highest paid jobs, right? And these jobs require a certain type of individual to go and do it. And I'm gonna say that individual, that's a brave individual. I've sat on houses in 100-degree heat laying down black TPO roofing. Not everybody is cut out for that type of work, and I'm not saying I want a badge for it, but I'm saying don't compare me to the guy who sits in the office all day and says, oh, I've been working hard. No, I'm sorry, that's not working hard. I'll show you what working hard is, right? So we need to place equal value amongst our members in society who are doing the hard work to build the infrastructure of our country. We need to give them their props. We need to celebrate them. We need to make them feel that they are important. And again, not in an insincere way, but in a sincere way. And we need to start holding them up to the place that they should be. I mean, we watch entertainers and we watch people, throw balls up the field and then hoops and then we give them statuses and we give them opportunities to speak to us. Have you ever heard of a plumber being a keynote speaker? Have you ever heard of an electrician being a keynote speaker at a graduation? Like, why, right? But you'll see actors and entertainers who get these roles to these images of prestige or these assumed positions of prestige simply because of the field that they're in. But they're not doing anything. I'm not saying their work isn't hard, but damn it, it's not harder than someone who's doing masonry all day, who's ensuring that every block, every brick on that house is level, is plumb, and is done correctly, and that mortar isn't gonna fall away. So I think we can offer more to the trades just from a paradigm shift of, I think we can offer more prestige to the industries that are the backbones of our civilization, which is construction.